For months, the war had raged across the borderlands, but no one expected the explosions to reach Moscow itself. On a cold, gray morning, air raid sirens wailed across the Russian capital. Civilians froze in disbelief as the sky above the city lit up with streaks of fire. Reports soon confirmed what no one wanted to believe: Ukraine had launched a long-range strike deep inside Russia using Storm Shadow missiles, targeting strategic points near the heart of Moscow. In seconds, the calm of the capital turned to chaos. Windows shattered across neighborhoods, alarms echoed endlessly, and smoke began to rise over the skyline. Videos started flooding social media, flashes of explosions, trails of missile smoke, and the terrified voices of civilians recording from their balconies. The city that once seemed untouchable was now a battlefield. Russia's Ministry of Defense reacted instantly. Fighter jets scrambled, radar systems went into overdrive, and anti-aircraft defenses opened fire across the outskirts of Moscow. The Russian government claimed to have intercepted most of the missiles, but multiple impact sites were visible, one near a military intelligence facility, another near a key power substation, and one dangerously close to a command and control center. The message was clear: the war had officially crossed into Russian soil. International reactions poured in within hours. Western analysts described it as a turning point in the conflict. For the first time since the war began, Ukraine had hit targets this deep inside Russia, hundreds of kilometers from the front lines. Moscow's elite, once confident of their safety, now rushed to underground shelters. Roads were jammed, mobile networks overloaded, and panic swept through social media platforms. Eyewitnesses described scenes of pure confusion. One woman said she saw a bright flash, louder than thunder, and then the windows of her apartment blew open. Others reported that several drones appeared in the sky moments before the missiles hit, possibly guiding the attack. The city's emergency services moved swiftly to contain fires and rescue civilians trapped under debris. But as the smoke thickened, fear turned into anger. President Putin called an emergency meeting of the Security Council. Within minutes, Russian state media broadcast a statement: Russia will respond decisively. Those responsible will face consequences. The world watched as Moscow braced for retaliation. Russian missiles began moving toward border launch sites, and the nation's nuclear readiness status reportedly increased. The war that once felt distant to many Russians was suddenly at their doorstep. In Kiev, the Ukrainian government neither confirmed nor denied responsibility. Anonymous sources hinted that the strike was in retaliation for massive Russian bombardments that had recently devastated Kharkiv and Odessa. Many analysts believed the attack was meant to send a message that no place in Russia was completely safe as long as the invasion continued. Military experts explained how the Storm Shadow missiles, supplied by the UK, had made such a deep strike possible. These precision-guided weapons can fly low, evade radar, and hit targets with devastating accuracy from hundreds of kilometers away. The attack proved Ukraine's growing technological reach and strategic capability, even against one of the most heavily defended capitals in the world. As night fell over Moscow, fires still burned across several districts. The city's skyline was dotted with smoke columns illuminated by the orange glow of emergency lights. Helicopters hovered above, scanning for more threats. Police sealed off roads, soldiers patrolled intersections, and checkpoints appeared around key government buildings. The city that once symbolized Russian power now felt fragile and exposed. The global markets reacted immediately. Oil prices spiked, the ruble plunged, and major airlines canceled flights over Russian airspace. The world feared escalation. Could this be the spark that turns a regional war into something far bigger? NATO called an emergency session, urging restraint, but privately many leaders admitted the situation was spiraling out of control. Russian citizens began sharing messages of panic and disbelief. For many, this was the first time they truly felt the war's cost. "We thought this would never reach us," one man said in a viral video, his face covered in dust. "Now it's here." Propaganda outlets rushed to frame the incident as an act of Western aggression. insisting foreign forces had guided the missiles. Meanwhile, opposition voices demanded answers. How could Moscow's advanced defense systems fail to stop such an attack? Through the night, explosions echoed in the distance as air defense units continued to fire at unidentified targets. Many wondered whether new attacks were coming. Some claimed to see more drones approaching from the west. The capital's power grid flickered on and off, and several districts temporarily lost electricity. Hospitals overflowed with wounded civilians and soldiers. By dawn, the full scale of the destruction was still unclear. Satellite images showed several large craters and scorched industrial zones. Rescue teams continued digging through rubble as officials worked to restore communication systems. State media announced that Moscow had survived an unprecedented act of terrorism. But the damage was undeniable. The psychological blow was even greater for the first time. Russians felt the same fear that had gripped Ukrainian cities for years. Across Europe, people watched live footage of the devastation. World leaders condemned the attack but also called for peace talks, fearing uncontrollable escalation. Yet, both sides seemed more determined than ever. Ukrainian officials hinted that as long as Russian missiles hit their cities, Moscow would not be spared. The war had entered a new, unpredictable phase. As the smoke cleared over Moscow's skyline, the silence that followed felt heavier than any explosion. The world held its breath, waiting for Russia's next move. Would this lead to a full-scale retaliation, or had the war reached the point of no return? One thing was certain: the illusion of safety inside Russia was gone forever. The war had come home,